The second row forward spot in NRL Fantasy. This is one of the most exciting positions we're going to be talking about. I'm pumped as because there's serious value from the very top all the way down to the bottom of this position. Biz, mate, tell me a bit about your strategy at second row. Are you loading up with guns or are you going cash cows? Are you finally willing to let a mid-ranger in? What do you think of that?
I was glad you asked me that. I've said in every single positional video we've done, I've loaded up with the guns and filled it up with cows. There is actually a lot of value in the mid ranges, I think, for the edges. And my edges, you'll be pleased to know, are all mid ranges. No,
Oh,
skip the
mate.
guns, and I've got like no real base price cashies. It's all in that kind of 400, 600K mark that I genuinely hate. But this is the position and the year to do it.
Mate, we're recording this on Valentine's Day and you've finally opened your heart to a mid-ranger. I'm so
No,
happy to see
it's
that.
not Valentine's Day in the US yet. New York, it's still the day before. I'm not
Oh,
opening my heart to mid ranges. I'd rather open my heart to centers first.
oh, mate, Valentine's morning. Come on, give it to me. All right, cool. So let's jump right into these guys then. And look, with the guns, there's some value here. There's some guys I'd skip. Dave Fafita is the first one. I had Dave Fafita last year from rounds 1 to 27. That was a great thing to have last year. But this year, 843K, he's a skip for me. Comes in with a bit of an injury. Des Hasler comes in, bit of change in coaching. I just don't see the upside, so I'm not going to go with Dave.
Yeah, I think he's going to be the best player in the position, but he's priced like that already, and there's injury clouds. So, yeah, I think there's better guns this year, but I'll definitely get him in when I can.
All right, skip. Next up, Jermaine Hopgood, about the same price. Would you choose Jermaine over Dave Fafita?
I think if I was choosing one, I'd choose Fafita, and we don't need to spend too much time on Hoppy since we covered him in the mids, but he's just got too much risk with the Parramatta forward pack being full strength compared to last year, but there's a lot of injuries, so there's a bit of a minutes risk to Hopgood, and he came off the bench a couple of times last year, so if I was choosing one, I'd pick Fafita, but I'm choosing neither this year.
A little upside there. Next, we jump down about 100K to John Bateman, and Bateman has been a guy who's been in that 850, 900K conversation in the past. Can he bounce back to that, even with the round 1 bye, which is dreaded here? I would like to see him playing in the middle to make a move on him. If he's on the edge, there's just not enough juice in the squeeze for me.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think both with Bateman and Pye are the same. They're down years by their standards just because the Tigers weren't good. They've got a round 1 bye, which makes them immediate no-goes for me. But if you ignore that round 1 bye, Papali has shown that he can average 60 plus if they're playing well, and he's doing well. And Bateman, we actually called it in a buy, hold, sell last year when we noticed he did some minutes in the middle. He started playing at lock and he killed it there. If he comes out and they have him at lock to accommodate, Samuel Fainu or someone like that, then I'm heavy on Bateman. But unless he's not a lock at edge, especially with the buy, skip.
Yeah. Them releasing Blore worries me there too, because it shows they probably view him as an edge. Papali'i, though, 716K, priced at 52. If he was available in a draft league in sort of the 4th round, the 5th round, I think that's a lock. Like, you get a guy there who you can captain in an easy fixture. He has to go better this year than he did last year. So I like that a lot. Preston, a guy who was a big winner for all of us. Do you like Preston this year, mate?
I like Preston. I mean, he came out with a 51 average as a rookie. There's only an upside. I mean, yeah, you can have second-year syndrome, but the Dogs are getting better. I think they'll use him more because he showed how explosive he can be. He's got a good mix of attacking and defensive work rate. Probably doesn't have huge improvement in him at 51 average. Like, it'd take a lot for him to get to 60, so I won't be on him. But he's probably one of those guys he's just a very consistent player. He does show that the ability he can get a 70 plus here and
there. Yep, Preston's a bit of a beast. I'll jump to Bo Firma. Look in 1% of teams, which is surprising me. That picture feels a bit low quality as well. Like, it's a bit out of date, but it's not as bad as the Hetherington pick that we saw last year. Look, for Bo Firma, he had 1 year where he was a 50 average and he scored 11 tries in that season. So I look at him and I go, is he going to score 11 tries again? He sort of needs to do that to be that 50 average. I don't think so. If he does, I can live with not having him at 660K. Pretty hard skip for me. Are you on the same page?
Yeah, I think there's not enough. A great player in real life, but easy skip in fantasy. I don't think anyone should be starting with him.
Easy skip. There we go. Luciano Leilua. Now, he's a late one you requested to be added onto this list. Tell me a bit about why you're considering Luch.
I mean, I'm not, but there's rumors that he could be moving back to the Dragons. If that's the case and he locks up an 80-minute edge spot, like we've seen what he can do. He's a 50-plus average player when he can get 80 minutes on an edge. He's not getting that at the Cowboys because they've got so many good edges, young edges, and you see guys like Nanai and Lukey, etc. So if he goes to the Dragons and he is starting on that edge, I think you could get him as one of the leading edges because he could average 50 plus there. But if he stays at Cowboys, hard pass.
Yeah, good move for the Cowboys too. Get rid of that 700K off your books. You got Lukey there. Give him a run. That's an easy move. Zach Hosking. Now, this is what I'm excited about, and 1.8% ownership is solely due to the fact that he's not a certainty to start at Canberra. I look at this and I think he's probably going to start in my eyes, and there's nothing out of Canberra to confirm it at all. It's probably a bit of wishful fantasy thinking, but I just think he's a gun. I think they've gone out and gotten him. I think Elliot Whitehead is sort of on the older side of his career. Maybe he moves into the middle, does a bit of ball playing, especially with the suspension to Horsburgh to start the year. So I'm looking at him thinking Hosking could be that guy. He's about a 55 average when he plays good minutes on the edge. So for me, he's pretty serious value priced at 42.
If he starts round one, he's definitely in my team. And I think he should be in everyone's team if he's starting round one. When you said you think he'll start round one, I was thinking, yeah, right, fantasy wishful thinking. But now that I'm thinking about it, Whitehead has played lock. Horsburgh is out 4 weeks. They usually start like Tarpanay at lock here and there, but he could actually go to prop, Whitehead at lock, and Hosking at edge. And now that I think about it, that actually makes a lot of sense versus putting like a
especially when you lose Whitehead.
Yeah, I think. I can't remember who's named it prop. It's like Solo or someone this week. Is it?
Josh Papali'i on the extended bench.
Yeah. Okay. So it could be a bench. Yeah. So who's? Yeah. I think there's a lot of. Yeah, but I don't think any of those guys would keep Hosking out of the squad because you're right. They went in and they got him early from a contract, right? So. Yeah, why would Hosking leave Panthers to come to another bench spot, right? So
yeah, agree.
I think you could be onto something. I think look, it's just a team list thing. If he's named and he's starting, you get him. That's as simple as that. If he's not, you don't get him. It's an easy equation.
Here's what I'll throw to you. I did a draft just the other day, and I took him in like the 14th round or something like that.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, well, it's a dice roll, right? I've got him. I've got like Gus Crichton. I've got like Pierce Paul. I've got all these sort of dice roll kind of guys there. Because I loaded up on the backs and the halves.
Hopefully, is this year's Kyron Williams for you, mate?
I'm backing it. Kyron Williams, man. I was more of a Puka Nakua guy. I got him in every league, but didn't get Kyron. Nice. Sean Lane next year. Now, Sean Lane is not the same fantasy pedigree as Zach Hosking, but his job security is a lot stronger. Look, really straightforward with Lane. He's normally a sort of mid-40s kind of guy. 2 years ago, he was a 52 average. Last year, it was 35 because of injuries and form and that kind of thing. Does Parramatta bounce back is the question. 11% of coaches think they will. Biz, do you think they will? And do you think he can go back to a 50 average?
I think Parramatta will be a lot better this year. I don't know if Lane is a 50 average guy. I can see more of a world where he's 45 to 48, but that's still 10 points of value. So you could still get him in that point. I think he does have the upside to go 50 plus. And it'll be interesting to see his trial form because he is named the captain of the trial team this week. If he's looking fit and firing, and then I saw a lot of comments last year. I just want to touch on this. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, Lane's getting injury prone. He's just coming in the next turbo, or whatever." All these injuries were just wildly independent of each other, like a jaw, hamstring. There was just like freak kind of incidents that
the jaw especially is a fluke.
It's exactly like they're all fluke injuries. It's not like a recurring injury over and over again, like turbos, hammies, etc. Like I wouldn't be worried about injury risk for Sean Lane. Like if you think he'll definitely, I think, start on the edge and play 80 minutes. If you think he's going to come back to good form, I think you get him in because he's probably 45 to 50 guy with upside for more.
I like it. Sean Lane. All right, we're picking a lot of mid ranges here, mate, which I know you love. Dylan Lucas.
I like this guy too.
Is he any chance of starting though?
I think he is. Like, I think he'll start next to Frizz. Like, I mean, I just think I don't know if they rush Pierce Paul in. Like, I think Lucas showed enough last year that he was just genuinely really good. And I think his average at second row was 52, 53, something pretty good. I'm actually, what's he actually priced at? Because his average is saying here 48, but he's priced in like 35, right? So there's potentially like, what do you have his break even there? I mean, I can whip it up, but I mean,
He'd be
I'm going to
priced
look it up right now. I'll
around
calculate
that
that right
35
now.
mark.
I
Yeah,
think it's like 35, right? I think Dylan Lucas is a
36.
50-point player. So his break even, if I look at it, is I think he's priced at 40. So footy statistic is saying 41, but I think he's a 50-point player and he could be a keeper at that edge position. So
He's
he's
played
one
full
of
games though. Like I almost think you need a Tyson Frizzell injury or something like that. If you worthwhile, because
there's a risk.
this
There's the
ball's not
risk
going
of
to get
that.
0 minutes, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But I feel like Lucas. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see how trials go. But like,
Mm.
I can, if I am comfortable with him playing 80 minutes week in week out, he's one I could be keen on. He's on my team now. Like I know I'm hyping him up.
Yeah.
I'm off him at the moment, but I can see myself getting on him. He could have a similar kind of profile to the Josh Curran sort of guy.
I'm too worried about it. I just think the Knights have Safidi brothers, Elliott, Leo Thompson, like all these guys who eat up minutes in the middle. So there's not going to be free middle minutes to sort of release the pressure on the edge back
Rotate
rows.
around. Yeah,
Yeah, because that's where Canberra, I think, like, oh yeah, for sure on Hosking. But for Dylan Lucas, I think he'll maybe timeshare with Pierce Paul, even if it is a dominant timeshare. But Frizzell's not going to miss that many minutes. He might play 65 or something like that. You need 80 minutes from Dylan Lucas. So I mean, I'd need to see something pretty impressive in the preseason for him to enter my radar. Smithies is another guy you wanted on there as well. So I mean, do you see a pathway for him getting to the starting side? Do you think it's bench minutes? What are you thinking here?
I mean, I don't know much about Smithies statistically, but like the one thing I do know is these young blokes who come from the UK to Canberra usually play pretty well, right? Look at Bateman, Whitehead, like they started off strong careers. I don't think he's starting, but there's been some news outlets and reporters who have him at starting lock while the horse is out for 4 weeks. I actually think after our discussion that we're more likely to go to the Whitehead to the middle or Tarpanay to lock versus keeping Smithies there. But look, if you have any intel on Smithy's work rate or his like Super League stats, etc., like drop them in the comments. I'd be interested to hear them. But I think him and Kai Portspill are the same. I think at 520K, without knowing their work rates and their roles, like you just couldn't really roll the dice with them.
The roll's dicey. Yeah, 520K, it's a bit expensive for me. Kai Pierce Paul's another one that's interesting. I think he's more of a draft prospect at this point. You stash him and you see what happens. But again, he's sort of a big rangy guy, pretty explosive back rower, comes out from the UK, fighting for that spot with Dylan Lucas. Keep an eye on him. If he comes out and he's an absolute freak and he just establishes himself as a John Bateman 2.0, get on early. But if not, and if he's coming off the bench to start, then just watch and see and wait for that opportunity to arise is my advice here.
Agree. Not much more to add there.
Right, bang. Then Sean Bloor. This is a really fun one. So he's that guy. He's that guy. 45 average when he plays good minutes in the back row. And you chuck him from the Tigers onto the Storm. It couldn't be a better recipe. 518K is very cheap. I could see him being a guy who pushes a 55 average. Like, I'm not guaranteeing that, but sort of 50 to 55 area. Get some attacking stats. He's a 45 on the Tigers. You throw in a try every second week for a period. It's completely possible.
I mean, I think talent-wise, he's definitely in that caliber. My one worry for him was the starting position in terms of Ellie. He could be this year's Ellie Katoa. Like if you think about it, similar kind of stories where they were good, talented guys, and you know they've gone to Storm with a lot of potential. Now, do I think he'll start? I wasn't sure about it, but my mate was telling me that he thinks he's been hearing reports that Loero will move to lock and Josh King into the prop rotation. I was like a bit off on that because Josh King was really good for them last year. But lo and behold, the trial team has Loero named at lock.
Yeah.
So is that an indication they're creating? And if that's the case, usually Storm second rowers do play 80 minutes. So I think if he's named at second row, he's there. I'm starting with him. I'm just pulling up his stats now. He's had 3 games where he's played 80 minutes at second row. He actually had a 49 average. That was at the Tigers when they were garbage. So if he's starting on the edge, he loves an offload. The new offload rules that came in a couple of years ago, he could even be a 55 guy. So, if he's starting edge, I think I'm on him.
Keep it, man. And 100%. Where is playing lock in this trial, that is a clear indicator of what they're trying to do. Otherwise, they'd have him on the edge because he's not a veteran. He needs to practice as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. If they like Qatar, they're going to like Blore. Both those guys are going to be very exciting this year. Probably a must-have. If he starts, Gus Crichton, and we can probably by extension talk about Sua Wong, Satili Tupanua. These guys are all in a bit of a similar price bracket. Let's cover them in one hit, but regardless of who wins that starting spot, there's a bit of an assumption that Nat Butcher gets the other spot, which he was good last year. I don't know if that's fully true personally, but whoever gets the starting spots on the Roosters, if they play big minutes, their value. If they timeshare, it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah, I think with all three, I'm just skipping all three because it's just going to be a revolving door. Like, they're all super talented. They've probably all got pros and cons. Like, if I had to name my Roosters edges, like, I don't really know who I'm picking. Like, on paper, it's Angus and Satili, but they've probably been the worst two performing in the last couple of years. And I'd say that Nat Butcher was brilliant last year. They've got Egan Butcher there as well, right? Like, so they've got a lot of players who can play second row. I think with Angus, what works against him is he's good in the middle as well. So I just think that too mid-rangey, too much risk, because there could be 1 week that Satili's starting and the next week it's Angus and it's Wong. I think whoever starts is not getting 80 minutes just because there's so many of them. And you saw that last year in most games, like Wong, when he played 80 minutes or 70 minutes, he was good, but he was kind of doing 40, 50 minutes, and they're not good enough scorers to sustain this mid-range price if they're only playing 50, 60 minutes. So in my head, skip all three. Satili, if he gets a starting edge, and I think he'll play 80, I'll start with him. But Angus at 500K is a pass. Wong, I don't think he's getting 80 minutes. So,
what I will say, though, is Angus is that 60-plus average when things are going right.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, he's a first-round draft pick when things are going right. So you just have to always keep an eye on him. You tick that little star, and every week you think about Angus Crichton before you go to sleep. And maybe one day he gets a starting spot.
He is named in the bench this week in a pretty full strength team, but he could become a starter if he gets that starting spot in week one. Yeah, it's a bit weird.
It doesn't mean anything.
But if he gets a week one starting spot, are you getting Angus on the edge?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, the upside is too much. The upside is too much. Like,
I can't miss a 60 potential player at 500K. So if he plays 50 minutes, trade him out.
He makes a little bit of money. It's not going to be a problem. Joshy Curran's the next guy. Look, I've got not much to say, but he goes to the Dogs. He's a 55 average when he plays good minutes at lock.
Yeah, we covered him pretty extensively in the mids video. There's not much more to add. I think if he's starting lock, he's in my team. Yeah, get Josh Curran. That's it.
And then Wong, 444K. We talked about him. Tal Mariner. You love
I love him.
Right?
He's
your boy.
When he plays
another
big
mid
minutes, I know a midi. This is my midi guys, but he's dual position. He's been recruited by the Dragons, who don't really have the best edges. All the reports are that Dylan Egan will get a starting spot alongside Sua, which we were big on Sua last year too. He was one of those calls. He was good. The soft spots for Sua, but they've actually got Eisenhuth starting on the edge and Dylan Egan on the bench. Dylan Egan's not even in fantasy yet, but if he does somehow get that starting spot, I think you have to start with him because he's going to be like 230 or 250K. RFM has shown when he's playing big minutes on edge, he's a 50-point guy. Now, he's had injury-plagued seasons the last couple of years and form slumps and Dogs overall, just rotating players constantly. If he gets a starting edge spot, like he's not named in the trial this week, but maybe just because he's been signed. If he's there round one starting edge, he's guaranteed in my team. I think there's like 15, 20 points of value. And if he sucks and he plays 40 minutes, I'll cash him out. But he's one of my guys if he's starting that edge.
Is he still a guy if Luciano goes there though? Like, to me, it feels like they're not. So. Yeah, it feels like they're not going to give him the role. To me,
I'm not. Like, I think I'll have to see that role in the trials. If he gets that in the last trial, but if they get Luciano, definitely not. But if they don't get Luciano, look, they don't really have the greatest edge talent. Tom Eisenhuth is not a starting quality second row. Dylan Egan, I don't know much about him. He could be a guy, but if Dylan Egan gets a spot over Talamara, I'll just move Talamara to Dylan Egan, sort of thing.
What I'm hearing is he's a bit more Jackson Ford-esque, Dylan Egan. It's
Yeah,
just
okay.
the guy.
He's,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
He's got a
Could be
40
anything,
average
man.
or something in the reserves, Dylan Egan, so it's good enough for me if he gets minutes.
So I guess we go through here. Let's throw a couple. Obviously, we're both super hot on Sean Bloor, so we can leave him out of this. But for mine, the guy I want to highlight here is just keep an eye on Zach Hosking's situation. You get a cut price keeper if you get Hosking and he's starting. So that's the guy I'm going to highlight there. Anyone you want to really hone in on here, Biz, to finish off?
I think the guys for me is if they're all starting, the key guys. I think I'm skipping the top guys. I think I like Lane, I like Curran, I like Hosking, like you said, I like Bloor. I think any of those four are pretty solid. They're all kind of similar price points. And then I like Satili Tupanoa if he's starting on the edge. But I feel like it's going to be one of those things where I'm going to pick Curran most likely alongside one of Lane or Hosking or Bloor. But if all of them are starting, then I could have all of them. I don't really know. I don't know how I'll make the economics worth. I might have to sacrifice a gun somewhere else. But they're all guys who can go from 500K to 800K if it goes well. So those are my four guys. So to recap, Bloor, Hosking, Lane, and Curran are my four guys here.
Tons of upside, man. 50+ potential for all of them. And obviously, we both have Pia Kura, who we covered in the Cash Cows video too. So, yeah, lots of edges now.
I got rid of him.
Ooh. Damn.
I was just like,
all right, well, that's drop. Mic drop to finish on. Let us know in the comments who you have in the second row, and let Biz know what you think of his not having Pia Kura, because that's sacrilege. That's not on.
See you guys.